What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got another swatch review for you. Today we're talking about the first summer collection of the year. We've got the Orly Great Escape collection for summer 2023. So if you haven't heard of Orly before, they are a mainstream nail polish brand that is vegan, meaning they do not use any animal derived ingredients. They're also cruelty free, meaning they do not test their products on animals, and they're listed as being formulated without harmful ingredients. So we've got 6 new polishes today, and it's actually a pretty funky lineup. It's definitely colors that I would not have expected for a usual summer release, but I was pretty intrigued by them. So I don't want to get into any spoilers or anything. Let me just show you the swatches, then we can talk a little bit more about my thoughts on them, and then also pricing and availability and all that good stuff. So let's roll the swatch footage. As with all of my swatch and review videos, I am using base coat underneath all of my swatches just to protect my natural nail and prevent any stains. Today it's the Orly Bonder base coat. So we'll start off with Lost Treasure, and already we're just diving into a pretty surprising polish here. This one is your average primary blue color, but it actually has that pearlized streaky finish, so you can see the brush strokes on the nail even after the polish is dried, and that's normally a finish that I associate with winter, but you'll see it a lot in this collection in these more summery, brighter colors. So I thought that was one of the more surprising things about this collection. The other being the actual color story itself, but I personally love this finish. I think it elongates the nail bed a little bit. I think it looks a little fancy, and I'm really intrigued by the idea of doing it in summery colors, so I really liked this one. This I got perfect coverage in 2 coats. Next up we have the shade Off the Grid, and this one is a really stunning sky blue cream, and you can see even at that first brush stroke it is so incredibly opaque. Orly just has some really nice formulas for these cream finishes, and honestly I feel like I could get away with wearing this one as a 1-coater. It was stunning. I ended up doing a 2nd coat just to show you what that looked like, but I love this really vibrant color. I loved the formula, and as you can see it's also very smooth and glossy. It does level out really nicely. Next we have the shade Close Call, and this one is this almost turquoise teal shade that again has that brush strokey finish, which I have to say I don't think I've ever seen a color this bright with this type of finish, and I did not think that I would absolutely love it as much as I do, but I have to say I think this is my favorite of the collection. I just think there's something so visually stunning about the combination of that vibrant summery color with what I normally associate as a wintry finish, and I just think it's so pretty, especially paired with the next color. There's just something so perfectly summery about it. And moving on, we have the shade On A Whim, which you already know I absolutely love because there's something about a yellow that has a little bit of that chartreuse greenish kind of undertone that just speaks to me any time of year, but especially in the summer, and we have been seeing a couple of these and I totally love them. Now I do notice with yellow shades that they tend to be a little bit more sheer on me. I actually find in general that yellow polish takes more coats to opacity than white nail polish does. I thought I was pretty much there in 2 coats, and at first I thought I could just wear this as a 2-coater, but once I applied that full 3rd coat and got that coverage and the vibrance of that color on my nail, I realized I prefer it a lot more this way, so I would definitely wear this as a 3-coater. And again, I think it just pairs perfectly with Close Call. I would love to see a manicure of those 2 together. And then we have the shade Follow the Map. I want to call this one an almost icy coral shade. It kind of sits between being red, orange, and pink, and again we have that frosty pearlized finish. I did notice that this one was a little bit less streaky than the others, especially once it dried, but it still does have that pearlized sort of finish, and it does have a little touch of iciness, but it's still a very vibrant, bright color. So again, just a very interesting pick. It surprised me a lot, but I did find myself really liking it because I do love this finish. I know not everybody likes this finish, but honestly, if you haven't tried it in a while, give it a try, and also if you have tried it and still don't like it, try it with a matte top coat. It might change your mind completely. And last but definitely not least, we have the shade Embrace Danger, which is almost like the more vibrant version of Follow the Map. This one's this gorgeous reddish orange shade. Again, it has that pearlized sort of finish to it, and again it is a little bit less brush strokey than the blue and the teal shades shades in the collection, and this one definitely screams summer to me. It's such a vibrant, bright color, and it's just such an interesting touch with that streakiness. Now, I did notice that this one bubbled a little bit. I think that's just user error though, because it has been very hot here in Las Vegas, and we do not keep the air on during the day yet, just because we are little desert lizards and we love it hot in here. So I think it just bubbled up because the polish was getting a little bit warm, but regardless, still a super gorgeous color. So here are all of the shades together, and overall, like I keep saying, I am just surprised by this collection. The color story itself, I think, is just so interesting and so unexpected for a summer collection. I feel like I'm so used to seeing not just neons, but also neons in the sort of pinky, purpley, turquoise color story that I think this is just such an interesting difference and departure from what we're used to seeing. So I really love that. I also, like I kept saying, really found myself intrigued by this brushstrokey finish. And like I said, I know not everybody enjoys the brushstroke finish. There is a way around that. If you like that almost chromy finish without making it brushstrokey, you can sponge on the final layer. I personally love the way that the brushstrokes look because I do have pretty short nails, and I also have pretty short nail beds. So I find that it makes my nails look a little bit longer without actually having to grow my nails out a little bit longer. So that's one thing I really enjoy about it. But yeah, very interesting color story, very interesting finishes here. Definitely out of the ordinary from what I expect for summer collections. I almost want to say there's something just a little bit androgynous slash boyish about this color story. Now, I always like to remind you that I don't think that nail polish is gendered at all. I think it's just a form of creative self-expression, but I don't know how to explain it. I feel like there's just something very slightly masculine about this collection because it reminds me of like when I'm in a department store in the summer and I'm looking at like the tropical shirts in the men's section. Does that make any sense? I'm not really sure, but either way, I really love it. I do think that it's interesting and it's very different. So yeah, those are the polishes, and like I said, this was a very unexpected color story, and I think this is something that Orly's been playing around with a lot recently, and I really enjoy it. I think they had a very controversial collection with their winter slash holiday for 2022. Instead of going with the typical winter and holiday shades, they went with this really chromy, futuristic kind of vibe, and I thought it was a really cool decision. So I'm really impressed that they went with this instead of your typical summery neon palette. I think it's just really fun and unique, and as I've said a million times, I love a brushstrokey finish. I have pretty short nails and I also have pretty short nail beds, so I feel like having that streak going down the nail actually makes my nails and nail beds look a little bit longer, and I just think that's a fun look. As somebody who prefers to keep my nails shorter but loves the way that long nails look, I think it kind of gives me the best of both worlds, so I definitely love that. But yeah, I think the color scheme is super funky here. There's something a little nostalgic about it, and I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but I've been thinking about it a lot, and I think it reminds me of when I was a kid in like elementary school, and the summers as a kid in the 90s, I think is what this color scheme is speaking to me about. I could be totally wrong about that, but I don't know. That's just kind of like the vibe that I'm getting. So if anybody has any insight as to what this color scheme is reminiscent of, definitely let me know in the comments. We can chat about it. But yeah, overall, I think it's really fun. I think it's really funky. Definitely different from what I expected, but I think it's actually better than what I expected because it's so easy for brands to fall into this idea of just coming out with the same colors for every season that everybody else is doing. So I really do love when brands kind of step outside of that and create their own funkiness. So these polishes come in 18 milliliter bottles, which is absolutely massive. The biggest bottle of nail polish that I own out of any brand. They do have a wide flat brush that has a rounded tip, so it makes application really easy, especially for beginners. And I think it actually works really well with this type of streaky finish. If you want to be careful with your brush strokes, that's the easiest kind of brush for that. And these polishes are available wherever Orly nail polish is sold. They are on the Orly website where they retail for $10.50 USD, but they are also available from retailers like HB Beauty Bar and Beyond Polish. So I will link those down in the description. You can check that out if you're interested. But I'm curious to know your thoughts. What do you think of this funky color story? What do you think of these fun and funky colors? Which is your favorite? Which is your least favorite? Leave it all in the comments. We can chat about it. If you enjoy my swatch and review videos, please give this one a thumbs up. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. I put out new videos every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. And of course, a huge shout out to my supporters on Patreon, my royal astronomer Amanda M, as well as my cosmic admirals Rocket Man's daughter, Paula, Ken, Rosie, and Courtney. I really appreciate your support, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye. Today's fun fact question comes from Patreon supporter Anne, aka the Crazy Sheep, and Anne wants to know, if there were no housing, allergy, or financial restrictions, what kind of animal would you want as a pet? I mean, if I were talking about domesticated animals, I would say a cat, which we cannot get because Ryan is incredibly allergic to them, even though I think a cat would be really fun. It's hard with animals because we both have hobbies that just is not great for animals. Ryan likes to collect sneakers, I like to collect nail polishes, so neither of our habits are very conducive to owning a pet, and I don't think we would do it unless we lived in a place that had a lot of extra space, because I don't think we would want the pet to be roaming around in whatever room has those collections in them. So I don't think too much about pets, but if we're talking like outlandish pets, actually, you know what I really want? This is also a domesticated animal, but I think ferrets are so cute, but I've heard they're very mischievous. I don't know, I feel like we wouldn't be able to handle it. So I mean, that's definitely a thing. But if we're talking about like crazy animal pics, I mean, I think it would be fun to have a sloth. I think the sloth and Ryan could hang out together and just be the same creature because Ryan has a lot in common with sloths. So yeah, I guess it would have to be a cat, a ferret, or a sloth. If anybody wants to list their dream pet, fantastical or otherwise, but it has to be a real creature that exists in this universe, leave it in the comments. We can chat about it, see if you have anything more creative than me. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye!